Chinese government to ban Twitter from China, but its officials get onto it to grow their followers.
Twitter runs no risk of being banned, but choose to ban a U.S. Congresswoman.
A 30 million people city of Xi'an is completely sealed off right now. And do you know what is happening there?
And today is the first day for our program in 2022. What is your New Year resolution and what is ours?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wei and Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
And I'm Kathy Zhang.
So first, thank you for accompanying us, working with us through the year of 2021.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. And also the last program on Friday, it was very well received, right?
That's right.
We interviewed Dr. Yan Li Meng, and there's a lot of warm, comment, and so we really appreciate that. And Dr. Yan was very encouraged too. So she may come to our program again and talk about her finding us more evidence. Actually, she could not express, present enough evidence that she has in the limited one-time show. Anyway, but today is the Chinese New Year. New Year resolution time, right? What kind of resolution have you made? And we have our own New Year resolution. Kathy and Wei, we thought it over in a very serious way, and we're going to share that at the end of the program. But not now. Let's first get to the news that we think is worthy for you today. Kathy?
Okay, so over the New Year weekend, one thing happened, and probably a lot of people already know about it, but we're going to talk about it still and also compare to, the officials from China in this topic. So Twitter permanently suspended Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, her personal account, on Sunday. And today, Facebook also joined the force and suspended her page for 24 hours. Twitter would not point out to any specific tweet that Representative Greene violated its term of service, instead saying that the ban had been triggered by, I quote, repeated violations of our COVID-19 misinformation policy. Representative Greene said in a statement through her office Sunday that she was suspended for tweeting statistics from the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, abbreviated as VAERS, with a critical commentary. So we cannot see the commentary anymore, but this on the screen, that's what she posted on her Telegram account. So she posted this statistics from the VAERS system, and she said before COVID reported that from, vax were taken seriously and the dangerous vax were stopped, and she compared with after the COVID. You can read about it. I won't read it out. And by the way, this system is the official system for reporting negative vaccine side effects to the government, which is operated under the Department of Health and Human Services, that anyone can report an adverse event from the vaccine to the system. And Congresswoman Greene said in a statement, Twitter is an enemy to America and cannot handle the truth. And she continued, that's fine. I will show America we do not need them, and it's time to defeat our enemies. So back in March last year, Twitter implemented a strike system for violations. According to the company's website, it will place logs on account that violates its policy. If there are 5 or more strikes, then it will result a permanent suspension. And Greene was suspended multiple times last year for so-called violation of the policy. For example, in January last year, she was suspended for questioning voter fraud in Georgia, then was suspended again in July and August for tweeting about COVID vaccine. And in August, she tweeted about her opinion of how FDA should formally approve vaccine.
Should not?
Because it was available under the emergency authorization. by the agency, and she, pointed out things like the reports of infection and the spread of the virus among vaccinated people. So that was deemed as violating the policy by Twitter. I'm not sure if YouTube is gonna, deem this also as violation. So I won't read out all the tweets that she put out at that time. So Representative Green is one of the most popular Republican members of Congress on social media, with hundreds of thousands of followers across multiple platforms. And prior to this suspension, she has over 465,000 followers on Twitter. Appears that she still have access to her professional account on Twitter. And after today's Facebook ban, Congresswoman Green said, this is beyond censorship of speech. And she said, I'm an elected member of Congress representing over 700,000 U.S. taxpayers. And I represent their voice, values, defend their freedoms, and protect the Constitution. So that's the fate of a U.S. Congress member in our country in terms of trying to express her opinions, her views, and the facts on social media like Twitter. On the other hand, in a country that both Twitter and Facebook are banned, there are hundreds of state-related Twitter and Facebook accounts, including its diplomats, spreading misinformation about the pandemic during the past 2 years. And they are still growing followers in a very fast way. For example, Zhao Lijian, you may, if you see his face, may not recognize him. He's the spokesperson for Chinese government's foreign ministry. And he's one of the famous Chinese called a wolf warrior diplomats who often defended Chinese government's interests in a confrontational manner. And you know what? His Twitter followers has grown to 1.1 million now. So let me tell you his story. On March of 12th last year, the spokesperson Zhao Lijian tweeted, let's see that. He said, when did patient zero begin in the U.S.? How many people are infected? What are the names of the hospitals? It might be the U.S. Army who brought the pandemic to Wuhan. And he called for transparency, make public your data. U.S., you owe us explanation. So this Twitter later on added a fact-check warning to Zhao's tweet about the U.S. Army, but only in the English version. Did not do a fact-check on his Chinese version. So according to Associated Press report, Zhao's tweet was now global news, and they hijacked mainstream discussion of the coronavirus. On Twitter alone, Zhao's aggressive spray of 11 tweets on March 12th and the 13th was cited over 99,000 times over the next 6 weeks in at least 54 languages, according to analysis conducted by a lab called the DFR Lab. The accounts that referenced him has nearly 275 million followers on Twitter, a number that almost certainly including duplicate followers and does not distinguish fake accounts. So Chinese government's state propaganda Global Times and at least 30 Chinese diplomatic accounts from France to Panama rushed into support Zhao. And 10 days after Zhao's first conspiratory tweets, China's global state media system kicked in to push the theory that Zhao was broadcasting that the COVID-19 may came from the U.S. Army. And within days, many versions of the piece appeared more than 350 times in Chinese state outlets, mostly in Chinese, but also around the world in other languages like English, French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and Arabic. appeared on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, WeChat, and a host of Chinese video platforms. And in last July and August, Zhao continued his propaganda, and he retweeted the U.S. Army conspiracy, saying that much remains unclear about U.S. Fort Detrick. That's the laboratory in Maryland that he was referring to, having released the COVID-19. And he said this laboratory had over 200 biolabs in the world. The tweet has not been flagged for fact-checking by Twitter since then. Chinese diplomats and the state-backed media drastically ramped up tweets about this Fort Detrick in mid-2021, when President Biden announced that he has directed the U.S. intelligence community to conduct a 90-day investigation of the origins of the virus. So from May to August 2021, the combined number of tweets by these accounts mentioning Fort Detrick jumped nearly ninefold, from 47 to 402, before tapering off significantly in September. So overall, COVID-19 disinformation has been very good for Chinese Communist government's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Zhao and his colleagues have been growing fan bases in China, and their followers on Twitter have soared. Zhao Lijian had over 879,000 Twitter followers when the Associated Press report that I mentioned was published in February of 2021. Okay, now 10 months later, his follower has grown to 1.1 million. Of course, how much of its audience is real and how much is from fake accounts is questionable. But the CCP's foreign ministry told AP that, quote, false information is the common enemy of mankind, and China has always opposed the creation and the spread of false information, end quote. However, according to some reports, including one released in October last year by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, a think tank in Washington, D.C., CCP is the global leader in the COVID-19 disinformation campaign. So CSIS stated, China's international image was severely tarnished by Beijing's handling of the initial COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan. The Chinese government and its proxies have heavily leveraged social media, especially Twitter, in an attempt to repair China's reputation and cast doubt on prevailing global narrative about the pandemic. So, study shows that as the COVID-19 pandemic claiming millions of lives worldwide, and in face of criticism over its handling of the outbreak at the outset, the Chinese Communist government have been engaging and continuing its global disinformation campaign in 2020 to 2021 with multilingual official media outlets and the domestic and international social media platforms at home and abroad. Their purpose is to convince the world that not only that China is not responsible for the outbreak, but that it is leading the global fight against it. The official rhetoric also claims the virus may have been leaked from a U.S. military laboratory and spreaded the message that U.S. vaccine has fraud. So Mr. Zhao Lijian, the spokesperson's tweet, are only some examples. According to a study by researchers at Oxford University, between January 2019 and December 2020, the number of Chinese foreign ministry diplomats on Twitter nearly quadrupled, from 39 to more than 188. The number of Chinese state-linked media accounts on Twitter also grown from 58 to 76, accounts over the same period. It also noted it could be the number could be understated. And China's presence increased on Facebook as well, only to a little lesser extent. These accounts used their digital megaphones to push Beijing's narrative around the world. According to CSIS's analysis, Chinese state-linked accounts tweeted about COVID-19 more than 270,000 times between January 2020 and September 2021. Chinese Twitter activity peaked at roughly 29,400 tweets in April of 2020. In subsequent months, those accounts have averaged about 11,000 tweets per month. So their main purpose is defending CCP, criticizing other countries. Much of these accounts' initial effort focused on defending China's government's response to the pandemic, and later they aimed much of their attacks against the United States. You can see from their the research chart, through September 2021, the United States was mentioned in roughly 23,400 tweets about COVID-19, more than 4 times the next most mentioned country, which is the UK. And many of these were retweets of United States politicians and journalists criticizing the Trump administration's handling of the pandemic. As the 2020 presidential election approached and criticism of the Trump administration increased, Chinese accounts exploit political divisiveness to ramp up criticism of the U.S. handling of the pandemic. In October 2020, which is 1 month before the election, 14 of the 20 top tweets were targeted criticizing the U.S. The most popular tweets that month was the spokesperson of a foreign ministry, Zhao Lijian. He retweeted President Trump announcing that he and the First Lady had contracted COVID-19. And the third most popular tweet was how Senator Bernie Sanders criticized Trump. Through these efforts, Beijing sought to promote a common narrative that its successes were thanks to the CCP and its governance model, which framing U.S. failures are shortcomings of democracies. So at the end, how effective is CCP's misinformation campaign and propaganda in terms of the global perceptions of China? Per CSIS's analysis, the results are limited. China's image has recovered somewhat, but its overall unfavorability remains historically high, and the perceptions that China is to blame for the pandemic persists. Pew Research Center polled a dozen countries in 2020 and 2021. A median increase of 11 percentage points among the respondents said that China has done a good job dealing with the pandemic. Among them, Europe has the most favorability. But on the other hand, China's overall image has not gained much improvement. In the countries that polled, a median of 72.5% of people had unfavorable views of China in 2021, virtually unchanged from 2020, which is 73%. It's a significant increase from 2019, when the number was 58.5%. So in summary, the CSIS study suggests that China's government's disinformation and propaganda campaign have not had a sizable impact. Beijing's combativeness and lack of transparency has engendered persistent negative view of China. So that's, some of the studies shows. I don't know how you think of it. In a way, how do you think about that? Their analysis and their conclusion.
Yeah, it's just hypocrisy, right? as we all know that China or the Chinese government banned Twitter and Facebook from China in the year of 2009, which is 1 year after the Beijing Olympics. At that time, they really have nothing to, to be careful about. So they took the measure of ban these two social platforms from China. So they are out of China. They have been excluded from China for 12 years, right. Now almost 13. And then while they allow Chinese government's officials came onto Twitter, as Kathy reported a lot of examples to you, right? It's classic, well-defined, easy to see through type of misinformation unleashed by the communist government's foreign, relationship apparatus. But Twitter just let them run unchecked.
Yeah.
It's just, in the meantime, earlier, the other, the Twitter's permanent suspension of the Congresswoman Green, just think about that. In this country, this is a free country, right? This is a free country. Twitter have its First Amendment. So it grew to be so big. And then now he's just banning the free, the free speech by a Congresswoman. U.S. government would never take down Twitter or just censor it or ban the speech over there, but now they came to ban the elected officials by basically a district with 700,000 people. Well, on the matter of China, think about that. China banned them. They allowed them to get onto it.
Yeah, and if they are talking about COVID-related misinformation, when that wolf warrior diplomat Zhao Lijian tweeted about how, without any base saying that the COVID-19 virus came from the U.S. Army, it only after the matter gave a little bit fact check, but not to a Chinese account, right? So how do you think of that?
Yeah, say, what do you think? Okay, so basically, let me just reiterate my point of view. True hypocrisy. China banned, CCP banned Twitter, and Twitter allows officials to run rampant on this platform. And the U.S. would never ban Twitter, and Twitter banned the U.S. elected officials. Of course, we all understand it, right? This is a free country, and Twitter has freedom to do whatever he wants. And he chose not to offend the CCP. And while CCP give no tolerance to any free speech platform in China.
Yeah, right? I don't know what they are hoping for. Are they hoping to get a chance in China? But according to our experience, they will never get a chance.
Twitter, if you hear my speaking here, Twitter, Facebook, Google, and any YouTube, any information platform has zero opportunity to ever exist in China in any way, shape, or form. Because free information is threatening to the regime. No matter how you want to court them, they won't let you in. They won't at least unless you just censor everything, just like the Chinese, the platform or the media in China does. If you don't do that, you have no chance to be there. But if they do that, they are not Twitter anymore, they're not Facebook anymore, they're not YouTube or Google anymore. So this is a hard fact. But I do understand. Okay, maybe they don't have this ambition or wish or fantasy of going back into China. They just do this in a way they don't offend those tyrant, because tyrant are tyrant. They just let them be. This is more like I think a more habitual thing throughout the recent history of the U.S. U.S. government, the U.S. government and business, they just don't want to offend CCP, Chinese people. But CCP or Chinese government. But how to deal with them? One person figured it out, and his name is called Mike Pompeo. One word: reciprocity. Reciprocity. You ban me, I ban you. You disallow my reporter to going around and reporting things, I ban your reporter from going around and reporting things. It's not like the U.S. want to ban foreign journalists, but this is a way to teach a foreign regime, a tyrant regime, a totalitarian regime like a CCP to respect America. This is a basic, reciprocal, foreign relationship. This is something every administration shall learn from, and every U.S. big company should learn from, including Twitter. If they ban you, you ban them until they let you in. At least you earn their respect. So this is, I think, one way to address the first hypocrisy.
Yeah, and as I remember, Professor Victor Hansen,
Yeah.
actually, in one time when I interviewed him, he actually said that a Chinese official from the San Francisco consulate, off the record, told him that actually the Chinese government officials actually don't look down upon the ultra left American politicians, and that they have more respect to the U.S. politicians who can stand up to them. Okay.
Yeah.
But so it's unfortunate that no matter it's a politician or the entrepreneurs in the United States, just about under the CCP's pressure, you won't have any chance actually.
Yeah, but at least you have their respect by staying strong and by staying reciprocal. Reciprocal. Yeah, with them.
And also, I think more importantly is to really defend the value of the United States, our country, right? So, if we lose all that, whether Twitter or Facebook or any enterprise, you won't become prosperous anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, without the United States, such a great country, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I'm talking about a second hypocrisy. As we know that Twitter, everybody, including Twitter, has its First Amendment right. So they are able to do whatever they want, including censoring people. Okay. However, Twitter has become so big and is so dominant. Essentially, this is a monopoly. In the free country, even monopoly is not supposed to be tolerated. Okay, because when they achieve that kind of position, they really just censor people. They could censor a elected official, they could censor you or me. And our government, okay, the Congress or the administration, whatever it is, which part it is, should not allow monopoly to carry out such practice. They should be breaking apart. All right, this is what this country should do.
Yeah, and Linda Lewis on Safe Chat saying maybe people at Twitter are compromised just like most of the officials in the U.S. And she also said many people in America are totally aware of how evil CCP is. Yes, I think that is the case.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next story.
Okay.
Which is in the December 9th. Okay. There's one case that of COVID-19, which is actually the Delta
variant.
Yeah, variant that was discovered in a couple of professor couple who traveled to Xi'an, and then was discovered that they contracted the Delta virus. Okay. Since then, they pretty much has been sealed off this city. This city is called Xi'an. Xi'an is a city with 13 million people. It is in the northwest China, and it is the place where the famous Bing Ma Yong, right? The Qingdai, how to say just we need to find out the word. Yeah,
right.
Bing Ma Yong, the famous Qing dynasty, the underground soldier. Okay, was unearthed. But very famous, it's a beautiful city. It's a city that served as the China's dynasty's capitals for many, many times, maybe 10 to 20 times in the history of China. Okay, when they seal off that city, this is just another version of Wuhan. 13 million people are ordered to stay inside their house or their apartment. They cannot come out. Okay, unless every other days they just elected one person to go buy some vegetable, but the supply is not coming. Okay, and then the food or vegetable become very, very pricey, and then you line up for 2 to 3 hours, you don't buy any food. So the sealing off has been happening for 13 days. Many people stay very hungry, and some pregnant women for 9 months couldn't get out and give birth to a baby. And she needs to go to another city and got taken care of by her family. She could not. This is the situation. There's just a lot of outcry on the internet, but the government is still taking very, very harsh measure, which is called zero, how to say?
Zero social clearance.
Yeah, zero clearance kind of a policy. Well, that policy was, how to say, well, came up a few months ago. This is the so-called the general 总方针, general guideline of the entire country. Whenever there's any outbreak, any infection report, zooming in there and eliminate it right away. Okay, this is called zero clearance kind of policy. And then they view that as the representing the, how to say, the superiority of the socialist China. Okay, so making sure this got to carry out and you eliminate any infection or the spreading of infection, that's a way to prove China has a better system, has a better political system. So it become a political campaign, a political battle. So while they try to, because if the secretary of the party, which is the top official of that province, which is the Xi'an, the capital of that province, he could be removed if there's, the number of infection go past a certain number. So to him, it's a survival of him. No official in China is elected. Everybody's appointed by the official on top of you. This zero clearance policy was decided by Xi Jinping. So now they resort to such a harsh measure. Even they cause many deaths, they don't care. Because the goal is to making sure that Xi Jinping is happy. They only report to their leader. They have no duty to be responsible to the citizens. This is China's policy. And this is the situation of a socialist country, very typical. So yeah. I tell a joke, okay, it's not a joke, it could be happening. There's, as of now, altogether about 1,500 infections. Even as they seal off the entire city with no supplies coming in, people cannot go out even though they're hungry and they're sick, they're still sealed off at their apartment. Even 1,500 people died because of the seal off, not the virus. They don't care. They only care, I got that number because on the January 4th is their goal to reach the virus infection to zero. How do you do that? The virus doesn't listen to you. So a policy like this have zero science base. It's really just a political order, directive from the top, from the party. But the party's order override everything at all cost. So this is what happened. This is just.
And in that way, they can continue their misinformation globally, saying that how CCP's governance model is superior to the West. And by the way, the city Xi'an is famous for its terracotta warriors. Terracotta warriors. And so their people in Xi'an, their New Year is just really miserable, even probably worse than when in Wuhan, when the pandemic just first started. Mm-hmm. And there are so many cases, a lot of on the social media, a lot of posting on how people were, like some residents were evicted to quarantine sites at midnight. And multiple videos on the internet show them being putting many large buses at 2 or 3 in the middle of the night and transported to the concentration point for quarantine with a dense line of large vehicles filling the streets. I think we showed you some of the video previously. And some of the isolation sites are really crude, with snow drifting outside the house, no warmth inside. The residents of Xi'an who were not quarantined were in fear that they could be the next. And so the chaos, including, because of lockdown, the lack of the food and the other necessities for the residents, and people just how much longer they can endure that. That's in the question.
A lot of people have virtually stay hungry, throughout several days. They couldn't do anything. And because the police was just so harsh, saying that, our orders keep you in. Whether you live or die, we don't care. What do we care is following the order. So this is what happened in Xi'an. And in terms of moving large number of people out of Xi'an, because the party leaders said that we need to have a zero clearance. So one way to do that is just move the suspicious people who are susceptible to the virus, just move them out of Xi'an.
Yeah.
Move out of that city. Then that city achieves zero clearance.
Yeah, and the people have no way. Some people try to escape. There's one case that a man hiked 62 miles for 8 days from Xi'an airport through the mountains and tried to avoid checkpoints. At the end, he was found and quarantined by the authority on the Christmas Eve. In another case, a man rode bicycles for 10 hours in the near freezing temperature to try to return home after learning that Xi'an would be locked down. He was eventually quarantined and was fined a couple of hundred RMB dollars.
Yeah, the China dollars. So the reason why we took this, go to such detail to report to you the situation of Xi'an, a city really, really remote to the U.S., is to show you that under a socialist country, what's the situation? What would a situation would evolve into, so that we treasure what we have today. Okay, I think a lot of freedom is curtailed in this country, but we still have it plenty. So I think we really need to treasure that.
Yeah, and also, going back to the CSIS's study about how the CCP's propaganda and the misinformation campaign has not really, has limited impact. But on the other hand, let's think of do we really shield from the impact of the CCP, right? Think about the current COVID policies. For example, locking down our society, shuttering businesses and schools, with only so-called essential work continuing, right, in the earlier months, and all those kind of mandates. So in the name of following science and trying to find a solution, but did we inevitably got some impact from the CCP, right? And the fundamental journalism principles are ignored. Our constitution and federal laws, could be violated. So I think it is really probably the time before it's too late to think about this.
Yeah, and you read from our English media, American media, or from the government officials saying that China, is performing better. Okay, they only have less than 5,000 5,000 deaths since early last year. So their policy is very effective. No number in China is verified by third party. Well, when there's 13 million people sealed off, and many people go hungry, some sick people, old people could die. There's no media report, and we and Kathy, we are journalists. We cannot reach all those households. We cannot do a journalist job. No journalist can do their job. How many people died? Nobody knows. Our naive American media and the Western media could just take their word, the government's word, and just spread it, saying that, see, it's effective. Now we're learning from them. This is essentially what happened. Okay, we're not as harsh as they do, but don't you agree that we're kind of learning from them? And this is what's happening. But we never know the total truth in China. For people like us, we came from that. We know how they work. Okay, we know without the media, we know that because we lived through that. We're the living example of, we're a living witness of that kind of system. So that's why we always want so much to warn you, and so are the many Chinese Americans or other people who live through the socialist country or communist country. And all right, so how about that? Enough of that. Let's come to the New Year resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually the first time for me to find out that the New Year resolution is not just some trendy American thing. It has really have very ancient root. Okay, so back in the ancient Rome, Rome has a god, the two-faced god called Janus. In Italian, probably they call it like a Hanus. Okay, Hanus is a two-faced god, and hopefully our DJ can show the god's face. So one face looking the past, one face looking into the future. Okay, so the year January is named after the god Janus. All right, it's actually the most powerful god of in the ancient Rome.
Okay.
So that's that. So basically, it represent from the past into the future. All right. So in Rome, in January, people are supposed to summarize, to review the past and make a new resolution into the future. In the medieval time, and the knights, okay, the knights would at the New Year time, between the Christmas and this is a Janus, as you can see. You may or may not know him. Okay. So Janus, at that time, at the ancient Rome, people make resolutions during when January came. Okay, in front of this god, and then in the medieval time, and the knights would they have this called a peacock vow. Okay, so peacock is peacock's feather is very beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, and very very grand, and then represent the the king. All right. So the knights would put their hand on the roasted peacock's feather, and then recommit their vow. Okay, their vow to the chivalry. All right. Mm-hmm. So basically, be a good person, be a good knight, and help the weak, and respect women, and be brave, and never run away, and things like that. So recommit their vow. So that's that. That's the New Year time. In the Christianity and also in Judaism, there's also this New Year vow time, and so that's running thousands of years. All right. So in this country, actually, this is what I learned at the end of the Great Depression. 25% of Americans would make a New Year resolution. And then in the year 2000, 40% of Americans would do that. And then now it's about 42% would do that. Mm. And then now, this is most interesting, okay, I found. How many people are able to keep their vow, make it work? I mean, make the resolution work. Gallup said 46% of people are likely to succeed in fulfilling their resolution with their resolution. Mm-hmm. Okay, do you think that's too high or too low? And but compared to this, only 5% of Americans would succeed with their resolution if they made their resolution at a time other than the New Year. So now you know it's valuable, right?
Okay.
So if you want to make any resolution, do it now. Okay, while the New Year is still with us. But can you type it up there? If you have any New Year resolution, can you share with us? Because I do want to know, and we do want to know, and we want to also share with you our New Year resolution. So take your time and just type up. Not take your time. We're ending this show soon, so speed up and type up there. What's your New Year resolution? Let's do online, just a survey, okay, to see how many of you would do that. Do you have a New Year resolution?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people may think, oh, it's just a cliche, you know, what's the point? And
right.
But listen to how, Wei's story, I think it might just inspire you a little bit, saying, oh, maybe it's a time still to try to think of a New Year's resolution.
Right. Okay. How about Wei and Kathy's New Year resolution? So actually, earlier, about 2 hours ago, in my Chinese show, and I said I have a New Year resolution to grow this channel to 100,000 people, 100,000 fans.
The Chinese channel?
No,
the
this
English
show, please.
Okay.
This channel. The reason is, so many of our Chinese fans ask us to, you got to do English. You got to talk to those, American people, the American, okay, because we are Chinese American. Talk to Americans. so that they know what we went through, what we lived through, the hell that we lived through. Like the Hong Kong people, Hong Kong people, they are very, very, how to say, gracious people, respectable people, but now they completely lost their city. They lost every single media, free media that they have. The Hong Kong becomes Soviet Union.
Right.
And it's very, very sad, okay? But, our Chinese fellows, they really want us, you gotta speak, you can speak English. Just do that, tell Americans that what is communism and what is socialism, tell them. And so our New Year resolution, first we want to grow this to 100,000 fans at the end of the year. We need all your help.
Yeah, because we having a headwind, right? Our subscriber used to be like a 64,000.
Yeah.
Now it's down by 5,000. So yeah, we really need your help. Need your ideas, suggestions. I have some of our viewers give us good suggestions and also spreading the words for us. So really, really appreciate it. So anything you can think of, just send our way.
Yeah. Another our action to achieve that. How do we do that? Okay. We just let you know. We want to turn this show back into a daily show. Okay, that's our commitment. Won't be 3 times a week. We want to do the 5 times a week, to say the least. And then we're making our plans, and Kathy will have her, content prepared, and Wei will do that too. And so we will have Kathy will host her own show for 2 times, and Wei another 2 times, and on the Friday we're gonna do it together just like this. Okay, so in our limited time, we do want to really make this show a daily show to you, and we want to bring you the best value that we think is important to you. And I will be talking. Let me review that next time. Okay. But I will be, I am making preparation, and so is Kathy. Hopefully, you're gonna stay with us, and please spread the word, and we will do our best to bring the best content to you, best interview and the best content to you. And please spread this show for us. We need to grow this show in whatever platform, and YouTube would be one of them. And in the future, we do want to, in our limited way, we want to really awake this country to the threat of the communism. All right.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
And
what's yours? I want to hear from yours. What's your New Year resolution? Does any of you make any New Year resolution?
Well, I saw, it's our friend is Death to CCP, right? He said, I'm giving a talk in local community center about CCP and the USA infiltration. That's great. Yeah, it's everyone can do their part to really make awareness of the CCP and its infiltration. So great job.
Enlightening, you wrote that to promote your channel, be a guest on others' YouTube channels. Yes, thank you. That's a great idea. In the meantime, you could leave comment in other YouTube channels that you watched. Tell them to invite us. Sometimes they hear that, they become interested. They wrote to us, because for us to contact them, can you interview me? It's a little uphill because they don't understand us. Chances are they're going to ignore that. But if their audience keep writing to them, so this couple are cool, I'm speaking for you here, and it's worth interviewing. As we do believe we are well worth their interviewing. So they could contact us. So a lot of such things, powers exist with you. If you help carry us, to them, carry our message, carry the news about us to them, I think that would be helpful, right?
Yes.
And also,
I know Mark actually, he, after Friday's interview, he actually, proactively wrote to a channel. It's a Black conservative channel, I think. And he suggests them to contact us, give them our email. So, it's a great effort. And I saw Political Incorrectness USA saying New Year's resolution is to pray more and stay close to family. That's great.
Nice saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And C. Guerrero saying, watch more Wei and Kathy shows as a great New Year's plan.
All right.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any others? And Linda Lewis said, I did not make one this year, but I usually do. But I love this history lesson, so I might decide to make one now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, if in your community you want to, invite speakers and, we and Kathy were available. Okay, these days when the speaking tends to be like a virtual, right, online, so it's easy for us to do that. I did that all the times with the, in the Chinese community, and also in English I do too. In Washington D.C., I gave those kind of speech on a specific term, I'm sorry, specific, subject. Dive into it and bring out what do we have. And actually, in the new year, I will be the next two serial, topic I have would be actually, believe it or not, it's about the U.S. Constitution. Okay, I will be talking about the 28 founding principles of the United States, and I will also be talking about history, the history of the communism, in two separate tracks. One is through the Soviet Union and China and Vietnam and Cuba. Another is from England, Germany, United States, and to what do we see today. So there's very, very specific process in which they develop themselves. And I want to reveal them to you and through the research that I have done.
Yeah. Oh, also, Kathy Believin said, join us on Telegram. Yes. Yeah. Great suggestion. We were talking about maybe creating a Telegram group for the show, and our friend that's with CCP saying we should list a list of Chinese communist jokes. Wait, that's your your expertise.
I want to bark too.
Okay, yeah. And he or she also said do a collaboration with the CGTN. Well, if they, would like to, we never refuse that.
If they dare, okay.
And Kathy Blivens also said join us on Getter and Rumble. Yes, so actually we are already on Rumble. If you have not known yet, and also our other friends also were suggesting us to get on Getter. So yeah, we will be talking about working on that.
Yeah, and you are a great audience. We really love you, and also thank you. With the 52 concurrent viewer, we got 80 likes. In Chinese show, this never happened. It's the other way around. You got 80 viewers and 50 likes, but in English, we are treated too well. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, okay. David Souza. So I always, try to get through all the comments. Saying, great, I'm interested in that. In what? Okay, maybe just leave your comment there so we know specifically what you talked about. We missed that.
Okay. So in the coming few days, we'll turn this show into a daily one. And hopefully you can stay with us. And we probably will shorten it somewhat. 1 hour is too long for many of you. But
on Fridays we probably have a longer show so that we can have more communications.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank
you.
And
Happy New Year. And wish you have a great night and wish you a prosperous New Year. And again, let's just stay strong and stay calm and stay faithful.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.